What's up guys, Eli here, back for a new stuff video. Got a nice little stack of CDs, almost all black and death metal, and then a very, very small stack of vinyl, mostly just kind of poppy prog stuff, you know, the kind of shit that I like. So, yeah, as usual, this entire stack just kind of summarizes the shit that I like almost entirely. So, yeah, let's check it out. So first off, we're going to talk about a band pretty briefly because I already had this album. I bought this. I actually picked this up today, thinking this is one of the albums I didn't have. It's one of the ones I do have because this band I absolutely love. I'm missing two of their albums, and I for some reason thought this was one. So we're talking about Sweden's Diabolical Masquerade with Nightwork. This came out in 2004 on Avant-Garde Music, Digipack. But yeah, man, Diabolical Masquerade were a really, really cool band started by Blackheim of Catatonia. Started this band pretty much as a solo project. Dan Swano from Edge of Sanity and, you know, many, many other things kind of collaborated from time to time on this project. This was their third album. One of the best Swedish black metal bands of all time. I'm going to go on the record for saying I think this is for me, this is top tier Swedish black metal. This is unlike pretty much all Swedish black metal of the time. This was very, you know, it might have started off a little bit more raw, traditional black metal stuff, but you know, by the third and fourth albums, maybe even I think even the second, you know, he went way more into kind of a cinematic world, sort of symphonic, just that kind of black metal. I'm such a sucker for. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is, since I already have this. This is a pretty good condition Digipack, you know, considering its age. I was thinking about trading this, but I already have it listed on Discogs. But if any of you guys would like to pick this up, I'll sell it to you for less than the cheapest going price on Discogs. So if you need this version of Nightwork from Diabolical Masquerade, I think the cheapest I saw in the U.S. was $18. I'd let it go for 15 plus shipping. So, like I said, it's already listed. It'll probably go within a couple of days because I'm selling it relatively cheap. But if anyone wants it, shoot me a message and it's yours. Next, we're going to talk about something. And by the way, yes, I am wearing a new Halloween shirt. We're going to talk about something kind of important that I should have talked about weeks ago. So the Greek black metal band Kawir, I never really knew if I pronounced that correctly, so I'll go ahead and splash it up here. I always pronounce it Kawir. I don't know how else you'd say it, but anyways. So the main man, Thurthanax, he formed this band back in like 93, I think. I guess he's not doing real well right now health-wise. He's having some medical issues. I can't remember. I know a lot of this is going to come off as vague. It might be his heart. I can't remember. But anyways, last I checked, and I haven't checked on progress, he was in the hospital in kind of rough shape. And so the band was helping him raise money for his medical bills. So they released an EP on Bandcamp just for download. No physical format as of yet. But they released it on there for $5, so I would really encourage you guys to go and buy it. I did myself, and look at it this way. You know, I don't always buy digital music or collect digital music, but you know, first of all, this band rules. $5 for an EP is a great deal, and you know, maybe you have enjoyed their music in the past, but not having purchased any of it. You know, this is your chance to kind of, you know. Maybe this band has enhanced your life with their music. Maybe this is your chance to kind of pay them back a little bit. So the EP is called War of the Giants. I actually just kind of printed off I kind of just made my own CDR. That's kind of the artwork. I printed it off and it was way too big. I don't know how to do shit. So I just trimmed it down to a CD size. And what can I say? You know, one of the best Greek black metal bands of all time. I'd say currently the best. This is one of the few bands that actually gets better with age. As much as I love, and I do love, you know, bands like Rotting Christ and stuff, they aren't getting better with age. And Kawir, they just seem to. I don't get it. I don't know their secret, but great fucking stuff. Now this next one of my favorite black metal albums that I never owned a physical copy of. Oddly enough, because this doesn't happen in my area very often at all. I was actually in a different city, a city in Washington, like 45 minutes away, quite a bit bigger than where I live, and I found this in a Goodwill for $1. We're talking Samael, Ceremony of Opposites. This is my favorite Samael album. I know that some people feel the same way, but a lot of people prefer the first two. Samael were a band that started out in 1987, Switzerland. They're still going strong. They've had their ups and downs. They've changed their sound a couple of times. They started off as basically like proto black metal, like Hellhammer-esque black metal. They were doing it early on, like I said, 87. They kind of became, with this album, this is where they started to kind of experiment with their sound. This is a little bit more modern sounding, contemporary black metal, I guess you could say. Almost a little bit industrial sounding. This was kind of this is the album that started their experimentation with like electronic music and shit like that. But the formula here is perfect. So this is an original Century Media pressing. What's funny is it didn't have a cover. I actually printed that out on computer paper, so it looks pretty decent. Case is broken, but what can you do? There you go. Yeah, fantastic album. I just absolutely love this. Is just a black metal treasure to me, and I don't know if I'm alone on this one. Did you guys ever kind of make a connection between this album and Satiricon's Rebel Extravaganza? For some reason, I always compared those two, kind of put them next to each other. This one's much stronger, don't get me wrong. I like Rebel Extravaganza. I think this is better, but for some reason they always kind of, I don't know, I always compared the two. They just always kind of fit next to each other. Maybe it's just me. Whatever. Now we have another kind of black metal oddity. I've never owned anything from this band until recently. Picked up this re-release. We're talking about And Oceans. Finnish symphonic black metal, formed in 1995 to the present. They did take a break from 2005 to 2017. I guess between 2005 and 2013 they were a band called Havoc Unit, which I remember hearing that name. I never looked into it, so I don't know what it is. But And Oceans, yeah, just they started off like a very kind of strange, experimental sounding symphonic black metal. They would go on to do more like industrial type black metal. With their most recent album, they kind of, from a year or 2, 3 ago, something like that, they kind of would make a return to form and kind of go back to that kind of, and I'd say less weird symphonic black metal, more pure symphonic black metal. Their earlier stuff was like just pretty avant-garde, and it's not always easy to listen to. You got to be. I love symphonic black metal, but these guys, even for me, get a little weird, even for me. But they're brilliant in their own way. If you can get into it, it's awesome. So yeah, this album originally came out in '99. This came out originally in '99. This is a 2021 Season of Mist repress. I got it for like $6. So yeah, definitely worth getting. Next, we have a kind of a weird one. You're not likely familiar with this band because I've only ever heard like one person that I know talk about them. This band is called Gravestone Service. They formed in 2002. They're somewhere over on the East Coast, Connecticut maybe, Massachusetts, something like that. Formed in 2002. I think they're still going. So I have their 7th full length from 2013 entitled Fog, and yes, you can tell, at least cover art wise, it's inspired by John Carpenter's movie. I think the whole album is. So this is kind of funny. I have a autographed version. 1 out of 20. That's pretty cool. I have no fucking clue whose signature that is. No idea. So whatever. Kind of, its coolness is kind of wasted on me. This is kind of cool stuff. I mean, this is black metal. I would say it's almost like if you were to put like Zazz Thor mixed with like Death SS from Italy. That's the only thing I can really think of to describe it. I've seen some pictures from their live shows. They look pretty cool. The singer like dresses like a pope, like an evil-looking pope, and he's got like a podium, so he's like preaching from his pulpit and shit. Pretty cool looking. Yeah, like I said, I've only ever seen. I have like one friend that has actually told me about this band some years back, but I saw this on Discogs for a good price, and I snagged it. So yeah, haven't had a lot of time to spend with it yet, but it's pretty cool. And speaking of Zazz Thor, I have their eighth full length album from 2010. Obviously, you probably know who Zazz Thor are. This is called Portal of Sorrow, by the way. Zazz Thor was one of those big names in the kind of mid 2000s where it was especially popular in the U.S. with like the one man kind of depressive black metal stuff. Leviathan, early Nocmistium, stuff like that. And I always liked Zazz Thor. They're one of those bands where it's like so loved and so revered, but just as much hated and just met with absolute contempt by the black metal scene. I always liked it. I always liked Zazz Thor's stuff. I like this kind of black metal. I like when it's done well. I like that depressive, bedroom black metal stuff. I like depressive black metal. That's so Zazz Thor started in '95. He went to about 2010. Basically took a break. Kind of ended the band. Came back as Nocturnal Poisoning, which was like a dark bluegrass band, and he's still doing that to this day. He changed his name back to Zazz Thor, which is fucking fine. I'm sure there are people like, oh, you have to change the name if you're going to change your style. No, you don't. No, you don't. Absolutely, you don't. That is your creation. That is your baby. That is your name. You can use it no matter what you want to do with it. You can become a fucking pop band. You can become a rapper. It doesn't matter. That's your name. You created it. You get to use it for whatever you want. I hate that shit. But anyways, so that bluegrass stuff isn't really my cup of tea. It's kind of cool. I don't think it's bad, but it's just not my thing. I think he's kind of pulled a Dark Throne where he's like, I already did black metal. I did it for years. I don't plan on returning to it. It's, of course, you got fans that are still to this day like, I'm still hoping, one day he'll give us another black metal album, and I don't see it happening. I follow him on social media and stuff, and I think he's pretty well thoroughly fed up with it. This is not his best work by any means. It's okay. This is very raw and noisy, even by Zazz Thor standards. I love the cover art, though. I think I'm just drawn to the cover art more than I am the album, but I like a lot of Zazz Thor stuff. And I do like this, but this is one of my least favorite albums, probably, that he's done. Then we have, in my mind, this is because I'm a big fan of the Australian black death metal scene, going from the early '90s to even nowadays. This is one of the first black metal bands from Australia that I really gravitated towards, and I've just always loved it. I don't remember how I found it, or I can't even tell you why I like it as much as I do, but we're talking about Anatomy. They started in '89. They were a total death metal band in the beginning, like the first like 2 demos and an EP or something, just pure raw death metal. And this is the first full length from '96, and around this time, probably even a little bit before this, it became just pure black metal. It's funny, a lot of bands kind of the styles will kind of merge for a while as they transition, but this is just, I don't hear death metal on here. To me, this is pure black metal. They took a break apparently from 2000 to 2015. I haven't heard anything beyond. They haven't done a lot recently. They did a second full length like a couple years after this. I'm not as familiar with that. I'm mostly just familiar with their EP, their death metal EP, and then this. This has got some interesting cover art done by Rock from Sadistic Execution. Not his finest work, I don't think, because I think his style's pretty cool. Usually he's got more of that Voivod style, where you can tell he's really influenced by Away, the drummer from Voivod. I guess this is more original compared to that, but it's not as cool. This came out on the Destructive Commando record label, which was a sub-label of Modern Invasion Music, which used to be a pretty big, black and death metal label in Australia. I don't think that label is around anymore, but I don't know. This is just a cool black metal album that I've always been drawn to from a scene that I've always liked, and that's it. Going towards some death metal now, we have from 2021, we have the debut album from Dream Unending with Tide Turns Eternal. Came out on 20 bucks spin, 2021, like I said. So this band formed in 2021. Usually I don't like when a band puts out an album the same year that they formed, but this is comprised of musicians that are kind of veterans at this point. Justin DeTore from Innumerable Forms, and Derek Vella from Tomb Mold. So I've heard nothing but good things about this album. Initially when it came out, I'll admit, and I shouldn't do this, but I saw the cover art and I was like, yeah, that doesn't look like anything I'd want to buy. That looks like a, it kind of looks like an some indie rock album from 2015. But the more I started thinking about it, I was like, in the mid '90s there were like some forward-thinking type death metal bands like Carbonized and stuff like that. They were experimenting and they put out some weird, colorful, album covers, that might not look cool like they did in the early '90s, but some the music was good. So I was like, that's what that reminds me of. That reminds me of a veteran death metal band in the early '90s, but by the time the mid '90s rolled around, they were wanting to do something new, and you saw stuff like this, more or less. So when I put the pieces together in my head and I came to that conclusion, I'm like, all right, why am I letting the cover art thing bother me? I've heard nothing but good about this. So this is a cool album. This is like a death metal, I would say more like a doom death. I guess they call their music dream doom or something like that. That kind of works. I've seen people compare it to like early Anathema, early Paradise Lost, and even stuff like Thurgathon. I don't know if I hear too much funeral doom in here, but it is pretty slow plodding doom death. And it's got kind of a unique sound. It is kind of dreamy sounding at times. It's a unique doom death album. I think that's all you really need to say. If you like doom death, or especially some of the cool stuff from the early '90s, definitely check this out. This is comprised of two modern kind of forward-thinking death metal musicians, and I think they did a good job here, despite the fact that they might not have taken a whole lot of time to write it. It's a cool album, and I'm looking forward to more music from them, seeing what they do next. So I was talking about my Goodwill trip. I also bought this that same day because this is not something I would normally buy. I do kind of like this band's first, like 2 or 3 albums, but beyond that, they don't really do a whole lot for me. We're talking about Aborted with Global Flatline. This is their 7th album from 2012. This seems to be kind of a fan favorite, despite the first like 2 or 3 albums. This seems to be the one that people go to, or their fans go to after that. So Aborted, who they are. I assume they started in '95. They're still going strong. They're a Belgian death metal band. They kind of started off kind of like a gore grind band. Nowadays, there's kind of like a modern, brutal death metal band. Not really my thing. Kind of cool cover art. It looks familiar. I think I probably know who this artist is. Osborne. Anyways, I've given this a listen. It is pretty good. I really like this guy's vocals. Sven Calhoun or something like that. I think he's got a cool vocal style. It's just not really my type of death metal. Like I said, I do like their first 2, maybe 3 albums. But I picked it up for $1, and it was a fun listen. I'll probably sell it on Discogs or trade it to somebody or something. But yeah, Aborted, they're okay. That's all the metal stuff, guys. Sorry. You can stop watching now if you want. Let's do this. I only got a couple more things. This is kind of a grail, actually. I've wanted this for a long time. It's not that it's impossible to find, but you don't usually see it at a pretty decent price. But my buddy who works over at our local record store found this for me. I'm not sure how, but this is the Legend soundtrack from 1985. This is done mostly by Tangerine Dream. The movie's okay. I think the soundtrack's much better than the movie. I love Tangerine Dream. I love their soundtracks. This is one of the better things that they've done. I love it. But it's not all Tangerine Dream. You got the first track is Your Love Strong Enough, which is a fantastic song performed by Brian Ferry of Roxy Music and David Gilmour of Pink Floyd on guitar. Killer song. You also have Loved by the Sun performed by John Anderson of Yes, so that's very cool. But the rest of it is composed by Tangerine Dream. As you may or may not know, there's two soundtracks for Tangerine Dream, or for Legend. One done by Tangerine Dream and the other guys that I mentioned. The other one done by Jerry Goldsmith, and it's also a very good soundtrack. I'd like to pick that up as well, but this is the one. This is the one I really needed. This is the one I've been wanting for a while. I have the Is Your Love Strong Enough single from this album, but I haven't had the full album until now, so I'm really happy to have that. All right, then we got a couple old 7 inches. Start off with the Genesis Into Deep. I don't know why some motherfucker wrote Hank Williams on the front. That's really fucking annoying. It's not Hank Williams. He was not in Genesis, not as far as I know. So this is a single from 1986 from the original Touch, the Invisible Touch album. God, me of all people should not never fuck that up. One of the few dorks that actually likes that album. So it's got Into Deep as the A side. The B side has got I'd Rather Be You, which was not on the album, so it's a true B side, or at least that's what I call it. It's always cool to get B sides that didn't make the album, because when you get a single that just has 2 songs from the album, why would you need that? It's kind of worthless. I love collecting these stupid little things, though, so yeah. Next, we got, and this is a prime example, this is just 2 songs from the fucking album. Toto with I Won't Hold You Back, from Toto 4 from 1982. Their massive album. This God, they just sold 8 bazillion copies of this. Apparently nominated for 8 Grammy Awards, so that's cool. So it's got I Won't Hold You Back and Afraid of Love as the B-side. Like I said, both these songs made the album. This is completely unnecessary to own. I always love this cover art, by the way. I just think that's cool. Nerdy as all hell, but it's cool. Then I got Kansas with All I Wanted. This came from the Power album from 1986. I quite like this, the Power album. This one sold pretty well too, at least from what I remember. I feel like you still see used copies of this all over the place, CD copies. I mean, you even if you don't listen to Kansas, you've probably seen this cover art. So this was kind of a transitional era from the band. They were it was 1986. They were much less proggy than they were when they started, but they were still this album kind of still, they were still holding on to some of their roots. There's still some semi-proggy stuff. I'm talking about the album, and I don't know why I'm talking about the album. This isn't the album. This is just the single. It's a pretty good song. It's not the best song on the album. It's got, as a B-side, it's got We're Not Alone Anymore. But anyways, it's a cool single. Worthless because both these songs are on the album. But if we're talking about the album, I like it. Not their best work. This was one of the few albums, and I think this was the first album to feature Steve Morse on guitar. I could be wrong about being his first album. He definitely plays on this. I think it's his first album. Steve Morse, you might know him from being in Deep Purple for like the last 20 plus years. Yeah, I love Kansas, and this is a cool thing to have. And the last thing I got that I'll be showing you guys today is this album that I was completely unfamiliar with. It's really cool to have now that I'm familiar with it. Talking about Cozy Powell, Tilt. Cozy Powell was he's not alive anymore. I think died in the mid-90s, late 90s. Great, phenomenal drummer. He played in Black Sabbath for a while. He was on some of the Tony Martin albums. He was in Rainbow. He plays on most of the classic Rainbow stuff. And then just a bunch of other things that he did. He did solo work. He did, session work. Fantastic drummer. One of my favorite Sabbath drummers, easily. Maybe my second favorite. So this is a solo album. This was his third of, I don't know, I can't remember how many he had, 4 or 5. This is from 81, and this isn't so much rock or metal. This is like cool, like rock and fusion stuff. It's instrumental, no vocals, so it's cozy, and he's got a bunch of cool guest musicians on this thing. Stuff like Mel Collins, I think was in King Crimson. Don Airy, who's been in Deep Purple for years at this point. He's done other stuff too. Bernie Marsden, Jack Bruce from Cream and other cool stuff. Jeff Beck, Gary Moore. Really cool to have. I'm definitely looking forward to giving this more listens because I'm having a lot of fun with it. So, anyways, guys, thanks for stopping by as always. Louie's over here taking a nap. He's got a new bandana on, by the way. I don't know if he'll show you. Let's see if we can get him up here. Louie, come here. Wake up. Come. He doesn't know what cameras are. Come here. Come here. He thinks he's in trouble. I just woke him up like a dick, too. He doesn't want to get up. Come on, Louie. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. There you go. He's a big Prince fan, so we call this Purple Rain. This is his new look. Anyways, guys, like I said, thanks for stopping by. I love you. We'll talk soon. Cheers.